kindness will save the future. Let's see what our guests in our very first panel of Next by TRT World Forum 2023 have to say about that. It's my pleasure to first of all welcome Rana Abdul Hamid to the stage. She's the Executive Director of Malika, a grassroots organisation advocating against gender-based and hate-based violence. Rana, thank you. Why don't you take a sit on this lovely pink one there? Next, we're going to welcome onto the stage Omar Salha. He's the founder and chief executive of the Ramadan Tent Project, an award-winning charity that aims to foster a broader community understanding of Ramadan. Omar, come on up. Omar, take a seat on this one right here. Okay, our next guest is Shehzad Roy. He's the founder and president of the Zindagi Trust, an education reform organisation based in Pakistan. Shehzad, come and join us on stage. Hi, Shehzad. Take a seat right here for us. And last but by no means least, my fellow Australian, we would love to welcome Devran Khan-Naz to the stage. He's an entrepreneur and a businessman in the construction sector who made a major pivot and started a social movement to protect and care for stray animals in Turkey, where he's based now. Devran, come on up. Devran, this will be you right here. Thank you all so much for being our very first panel of the day for Next by TRT World Forum 2023. I want to start by getting straight into entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship. Devran, I'm going to start with you because you've had experience across various forms of entrepreneurship, beginning, your career and your entrepreneurial life in construction and then pivoting to more social causes. How do you see the difference between regular entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship, and how hard is it to make that change?
Hello, Melinda. Well, first of all, entrepreneurship, it's like when you're doing social entrepreneurship, there's no cap, there's no ending to it. It's like I started off with stray animals and I started helping out children with disabilities. And then, there's an earthquake or there's something that happens in the country, a crisis like the bushfires or, the floods in Turkey as well. And you just feel like you need to be a part of that because you're already spreading kindness. You're already doing these sort of acts of kindness and good things. And it's also important because there's a lot of people that want to do this sort of stuff, but they don't know where to start. So when I started to see we're gathering so many people and there's an amazing movement. There's so many people that don't know where to start, don't know what to do. And when we give them that platform and we see the movement and we see the confidence in those people, they just need that stepping stone,
So social entrepreneurship allows you to be a bit more of a conduit for other people.
Exactly. And that's what's important, It's not just me doing it myself or me and my team. It's about spreading that and giving hope and making sure that everyone can have a feel of that because you're giving that experience to those people to be able to, for instance, rescue an animal or feed a stray animal, A lot of people don't know how it feels until you do it. And that's how I started. So, the building game, electrical, the other entrepreneurships that I did with working is a lot different, I'd say. But it's still, how can I say it? It's different in a way where you're earning money and you like to be multi-talented and constantly do different things. When you're doing social entrepreneurship, when you see the broadness of happiness and kindness and the good that you're doing, you're like, this is good. This is right. I'm doing something right.
Yeah. The rewards go much deeper than the pockets. Rana, your vision from Malika was born out of a very personal experience of Islamophobia for you when you were a teenager. Can you share that story with us? And in particular, how did you turn an action of hatred into a force for kindness?
Yes, for sure. So I always talk about where I grew up. I love where I grew up. I grew up in Queens, in New York, and people often think about, when they think about New York, they think about Times Square, they think about how people are kind of cold to each other. And I grew up in a community that was very working class, that was immigrant, majority North African Muslim immigrants, and I grew up in a post 9/11 New York City. And it was in this context in which I saw still my elders, like my mom who's in the audience, really maintain and hold on to their identities as Muslims. Hold on to their hijab even when there was racism and discrimination, not change their names even when they faced employment harassment or housing harassment. And as a teenager, that gave me a lot of confidence to decide to wear the hijab. And I remember walking down the street one day in Queens after I had made that decision, and unfortunately I was attacked by a man who tried to take off my hijab. I was only 15 years old at the time.
So young to face something like that.
It was very traumatizing. But the unfortunate reality is that hate-based violence facing Muslims in the United States increased by 1,600% after 9/11. And just in 2022, in New York City alone, which is a very diverse place, you think of it as this multicultural hub, hate-based violence increased by 76%. And so even though this vision for Malika started 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we're still dealing with the same kinds of anti-Muslim violence, xenophobia, hate-based violence that unfortunately I never wanted, right, to see happen for my community.
So
but again, it was that love.
How do you turn that feeling of being attacked like that, your inner beliefs, how do you not get angry and turn it towards kindness to reshape the future?
Well, anger was definitely there, so I want to be real about that, right? And it's okay to feel anger when stuff happens, right? And at the same time, I think it is that rootedness in love for my community, seeing the ways in which, speaking of kindness, my immigrant elders, even with the very little resources they had, supported each other, held each other down, instilled love in our identity, in our culture, in our religion. Even in spite of all that, that gave me the confidence and the power in my own voice to see myself as an actor of change. And so at the time, I had a black belt in Shotokan karate. I'm a martial artist.
Good for you.
And so I was able to take that skill set that I learned to actually do something greater than myself, which is teach self-defense to other young Muslim women.
Omar, does that sort of resonate with you? Because your organization is essentially all about tackling maybe a misunderstanding of the religion, of Islamophobia in general, creating more community awareness for Ramadan. So how do you turn negativity or maybe misunderstanding about the community into kindness?
Well, I suppose the key question is asking, are you a bridger or a breaker? We live in a world where the narrative is of two options. Through my research, you are faced with either othering or belonging. And a mechanism of belonging is bridging between different communities. If you're not doing that, then you're dividing communities. And it's really very important to look at the language we use and the tools that we have in front of us to be able to reach out to new audiences and look at how we tackle misconceptions around Islam. Yes, for sure, there is Islamophobia, there's anti-Muslim hate crimes. In the UK, for instance, for the 5th year in a row, Muslims are the highest number proportion of religious people and faith group who face anti-religious hate crimes. And so for us, how do we tackle an issue like this? How do we view a problem and look at it as an opportunity to take it head on? And the best way through is literally kindness. It sounds very soft, but I think soft power is really powerful. It's something which we see being used in governments, state level as well as local level. And for us, we use the power of Ramadan, which is the holiest month in the Islamic calendar, to bring communities together. Those who may feel alienated or unsure, afraid to step into a mosque, let's say. You know, there's a stat in the UK where over 90% of UK adults have not been into a mosque. So perhaps maybe the problem we're facing here in terms of xenophobia, Islamophobia, is one of fear. And actually, if we can break those walls down, if we're able to bridge between different communities, because our motto is turning strangers into friends. And the only way of doing turning strangers into friends is to build bridges. But what you do need to do is when you build bridges, have the courage to cross these bridges as well. Often we build these bridges and then we let them be. And we look at them, take nice photos, talk about them, but actually having leaders in respective communities to cross those bridges also takes a lot of effort.
I don't know if it registers with our audience, but I really love how you said that kindness may seem soft, but it is such a strong force. And I think we're all so lucky to have all of you here to remind us of that. It's easy to think that the stronger route is brute force, but I think you've all reflected that it's certainly not. Shehzad, a lot of what Omar is saying sort of comes back to education. It comes back to not just educating the broader community, but maybe educating the young people that they can have confidence and respect in what they do and to stand up against things that they think are wrong. Your group has made some profound changes in education in Pakistan. It prompted the National Assembly to criminalise corporal punishment, as just one example. How do you generate that kind of momentum? How do you start with one good idea, one good intention, and turn it into a movement that can change laws?
I started music when I was very young. I started singing in late 90s. And I remember when I was singing, music was not, obviously I got famous very quickly. My first song was a hit in Pakistan, was very popular. People started recognizing me.
It's a lot for a younger person to have that attention.
I was in my 11th grade at that time. And soon I realized that music is not very well respected in my community. And I realized that, my mother telling me one day that it will be very difficult for me to do the matchmaking. Our family friends will not want their daughter to marry you. So, and the dangerous part is that somewhere it's a misconception that in our religion, in Islam, somewhere a large sector of society, maybe around the world, but in Pakistan, at that time, it was very strong feeling that music is not a good thing to do. It's haram. So I think it's a misconception. But, and I'll give you a quick example of what happened when I started music. I was popular, everything, but I was performing like this. I was just seeing the audience today, and I was performing in Islamabad, it's the capital of Pakistan. And I was singing on stage, and it was Friday afternoon. So a young girl came up to me, and they all were asking me to sing different songs. So I heard the Jummah prayers, the Azan, the Friday prayers. And I stopped the concert for a second. And I thought that because I can hear it, so I'll just stop the concert. I will not sing right now. So a girl came up to me and said that, Shehzad, why aren't you singing? And I said, I can't sing. I was just joking. I said, if I sing right now, God will send me to hell because, I can hear Azan. And he said, please keep on singing. You're not going to heaven anyway.
Ouch.
So the misconception was that the children over there, they were enjoying, they were dancing. But somewhere in their mind, they thought that doing this will send you to hell. So you can't do that, just enjoy it. So fast forward 2013. Through the same power of music, we were able to change this law. So the National Assembly invited me and recognized that we pushed this law, and all the religious parties were sitting over there. So it was an amazing journey that from banning music to changing laws through music. So Pakistan has seen this paradigm shift. So I feel that kindness is contagious, like everybody is saying. So this is how we changed the law, and music played an integral part.
Do you think that your profile enabled you to reach out to to spread the message to a broader community?
Yeah, obviously, because as I said, that music is a powerful medium to spread the word, and I was singing, and I was, but when I started the organization, I was not sure that I'll be able to do this. But I genuinely believe that, if you have an intellectual kick in whatever you're doing, and if you believe in it, you can definitely achieve it. Because mine is, over here or wherever I go right now, I just tell people that mine has so much power, that if you believe in something, if you can see it, you can do it.
Rana, you were telling us you grew up in the United States. The title of our session is Kindness Will Save the Future. But I don't know, I'm sure a lot of you guys, like I said in my opening remarks, a lot of our audience, it feels like kindness is not always being perpetuated across social media a lot of the time, especially these days. It feels like there's a lot of hatred. In America, is no stranger to that, especially when we look at politics and that sort of rhetoric that's going on at the moment. Do you ever fear that there will be no room left for kindness, or that people will stop seeing it as a force, like Omar said?
Sometimes it could feel like that, right? When you're in the social media comments and you're seeing the ways in which there's so much polarization. And I really believe that if you look locally, and if you look at just interpersonal relationships, how people are engaging with each other every single day, micro solutions, like everything that we heard on this stage that I'm like learning about and so fascinated by, you can find a lot of hope, right? And it's those small changes, and I see that every single day through my work at Melika, like just being able to have a healing space, have a food pantry, have people come together in joy and in art making. It is through those relationships at a very grassroots level that I get my hope to continue to do the work that I do.
It's inspiring. You said, like it can be something small, something on an international scale. Devran, you were part of the Mission Possible project, which saw the rescue of more than 300 cats and dogs out of Afghanistan. Can you talk us through what that was and maybe highlight some of the challenges and how you overcame them?
First of all, that was like, wow for me.
Huge.
For our team. It was like, to be a part of something like that. You remember those horrific images where people were hanging onto the plane while the plane was taking off from Afghanistan. Well, the people that were on that plane that ended up going to America, Canada, we ended up actually getting their pets in Afghanistan. That's when the mission actually started. So it was a worldwide team effort. So we had Jeff from No Dogs Left Behind, Zach, Marley's Mutts, SPC International. These are like the biggest animal activists organizations around the world. And for Turkey, they picked me, us, which I wasn't even an organization, it's just DevNaz, that's it. So they looked, and I've been talking to these guys for years, and they're like, we need you because this is a worldwide massive operation. So I'm like, I'm in, okay? I didn't even care what it was, whatever. I'm in and my team's in, no matter what. So it all started off with the pets. So those people that ended up leaving on that plane wanted their pets, obviously. They wanted to reunite with their pets. So Jeff and the team started to get these animals together in Afghanistan. And then the remaining space that was left on that IL-76 Russian plane, we ended up getting strays. So there was 304 animals in total, cats and dogs. Anyway, the plane had to come to Turkey first, Ankara, Esenboğa Airport. And we left from south of Turkey. We left from Adana to Ankara, went straight to the airport, went to the manager's office and said, look, there's a plane coming here. And, we have to go on the airstrip and we need to take care of those animals. The guy laughed at me, said, that's impossible. With your cars, you're going to go drive on the airstrip and no, that's not happening. Anyway, obviously, we talked our way through it and got in touch with the governor of Ankara. And then, look, I said, man, if these animals come here and they die in Turkey, imagine what the world's going to think about this, Like, Guy looked at me, called the governor. He's like, okay, let's do it. So with
Yeah.
our vehicles, we actually drove on the airstrip. And this plane wasn't even on the radar. So they don't even know about this plane actually coming and landing. And towards the last few hours, it was on the radar. So the most incredible feeling in the world. It was like something out of the movies. Like we actually thought we were in a Hollywood movie. Imagine going on the airstrip with your vehicles.
To do such a good deed and for
Exactly.
everyone to see. So it's not that you're doing it for yourselves
No,
or for,
yeah.
and you're doing it for the benefit of other people, other animals,
Exactly.
other creatures. And it just is, again, an example of how an act of kindness, you overcame so many hurdles
Yeah.
just to do something good, inherently good.
Think about this. Like these animals are like they're like their children.
It's
you know?
family.
It's family. So because I can understand that, I'm like, I'm in because I want them to reunite with their family members. And also, obviously, rescue the remaining strays that were there, whatever we can fit on the plane. So it really motivated us in our team. And it was a very successful mission. From there, we went to Iceland. And then from Iceland, it went to Canada. So it was a massive worldwide operation. And that really changed a lot in our life, within our team and everything. We just thought to ourselves, wow, like we're part of something incredible, you know? And then we started to get offers from, other airlines, like Turkish Airlines. When I ended up going on the airport channel, they said, we'll give you a plane, a Turkish cargo plane. Can you rescue animals from here and send them to America or Canada?
Like you were saying, hope is contagious. It's a
Exactly.
contagious thing. And Omar, you've been recognized as one of the most inspiring and influential Muslims and Muslim activists in the world. How do you inspire the next generation of social entrepreneurs? How do you use that platform to lift up other people?
Well, I mean, first of all, I like the way you framed it in terms of lifting a community, because often we find individuality has, in many ways, been almost a cancer to us trying to stop kindness being contagious. And I think what I would say to everyone here listening in and online as well, I think it's really important to be honest with yourself and, maybe allowing yourself, as we're all on a journey of purpose, and every action we do, whether it's private or personal, there's an intent behind it. There's purpose behind it. And so to uplift the community, we need to be prepared to offer spaces and ideas and be able to not only gatekeep, but also share knowledge, which is really important. Often we find people in powerful, influential positions who are not willing to share access, share knowledge. And actually what that does is becomes a cyclical process now where whatever experiences you have gone through, you haven't really afforded that knowledge to be passed on to the younger generation. So that's the first element. The second element is I do believe the younger generation want instant results.
That's a really good point.
And want instant gratification. And I think my advice is to be patient. And, this year we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary at Ramadan 10 Project. So if you were to ask me, it's incredible what the organization has done, you're just taking a snapshot of our 10th year anniversary. But it took us 9 years grafting to get to where we are today. It wasn't always as smooth. Change never is. Change takes time. So it's important to enjoy the process. And I think everyone here, if they leave thinking of their top 3 role models or people they look up to, I can guarantee those 3 people have gone above and beyond. There isn't anyone in your top 3 role models who you think they're ordinary. They've gone above and beyond. And I don't mean this in a professional sense, but also personal. And it's that power of kindness on a very simple local level that actually inspires others to do the same.
Shazad, what do you think about that. How do you inspire change and inspire hope amongst younger social entrepreneurs? And what do you think about Omar's point that young people want that instant result?
Obviously, we're going through this age of information, so a lot of people say that now you don't get insomnia, you get informnia. Because there's so much information.
It's an overload.
I genuinely believe that kindness is contagious. And okay, so I think music plays an integral part when it comes to changing mindset, inspiring people, and it also played a very important role and helped my organization, Zindagi Trust. And I remember that, I think music is the best medium to change mindsets. And the reason I'm saying it, first you asked me about the concept of corporal punishment in Pakistan. So it'll be funny, it'll sound funny that, we had this law, which was called Section 89 in Pakistan, which said that in good faith, you're allowed to hit children. So, and I realized that I didn't know before that we had this law, but when we turned around our first government school, I was raising funds, and then while I was raising funds, we were turning around a government school also to create a prototype for our government to then replicate. So we, one of my colleagues called me and he said that, we have an incident at the school that teacher was really beating a child and he's in hospital. And I was like shocked. And then when we thought that we were going to report this to police, they told me that we have a law because if that child was misbehaving or for his betterment or in good faith, so you can't say anything to that teacher because somewhere again it's a misconception that in Islam parents can hit children, which is not, I feel it's not true. And they think that teachers are our spiritual parents. So we couldn't change this law. So I did a program on a channel like TRT. We have like Geo News in Pakistan. So I did a show on that. And education programs are generally very boring. So I requested my friend that I should get a Harley Davidson. And I should travel across Pakistan on a motorbike. So I'll just make it more interesting for youth. And we did that, and the law was changed. But
it takes time.
But we couldn't change the mindset. We interviewed a chief financial officer, a very well-educated man. And I asked him that we are changing this law. What do you think about corporal punishment? He said, Shahzad, I have some disagreement that, if my parents hadn't beaten me at that time, I wouldn't be in this position today. And then I told him that they should keep on beating you, then you become the MD, then you become the board of directors. So you can't do so. I'm just saying that we couldn't change the mindset. But through music today, in 2023, if we talk about this, corporal punishment is literally not just banned, but people think that it's bad. So through music, yes, you can change mindset, you can convince youth to come forward and do what they believe in.
Rana, what do you think about using kindness to generate change, but it doesn't happen overnight? You might change a law, but you still have to change mindsets. How do you tackle that want for instant change with the understanding that social change takes a long time? How do you talk about that with the people you work with?
Yeah, so we also use a lot of arts and culture and storytelling in the work that we do, and we really understand that it takes building empathy, building resonance, getting people to understand our community when oftentimes there's this barrier. I think oftentimes emotional, based on ignorance, people's lack of understanding. So we just worked on this really amazing project that was a storytelling project highlighting the stories of 12 immigrant North African Muslim women from Queens in partnership with MoMA PS1, which is a huge museum in New York City. And I just remember the reactions of people. We had objects, we have videos, we have photography for the first time. You're walking in, you're seeing hijab-wearing Muslim women on the walls of a New York City institution. And people who are not Muslim are coming up to me and they're like, these stories resonate with my family's story, right? And I found people are like crying, right? And they are completely different backgrounds, completely different versions and journeys, but it's because we used art, because we used storytelling, because we were able to humanize and really be creative in how we engage these very, very heavy and serious topics around gentrification and housing and food and racism and discrimination in a way that was really felt by people. And I 100% agree that that generates kindness because it generates empathy through that storytelling.
Yeah, you're right. When you can harness that human connection between people. We're running out of time, but I just want to quickly end just, Omar, with one maybe advice to our young audience, young social entrepreneurs, social media movers and shakers, journalists, activists, academics in our audience. If you could give them a piece of advice about how to use kindness in their work to generate change and a better future for all of us.
I would say two things, if I may. So
please.
the first is, in our tradition in Islam, every act of kindness is charity. So it's part of our tradition and our shared tradition. And so it is a human value, it is a human trait, but also part of who we are. In Turkey, for example, for those who are staying here, hospitality is part of the tradition. You know, and small acts like that makes you smile, you know, warms your heart. And this is our mission, which I would share with everyone, is to soften hearts and minds. Do not have your mission to go out and win hearts and minds, to conquer hearts and minds. Rather, soften hearts and minds. Because the more we soften, the closer we get to this definition of belonging. And I would say the second point is, we all have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should listen more and don't speak as often. But where our ears are placed are on the right and on the left. So be prepared to listen to those from the right and the left, and not just only hear from one group, but hear from all groups. And then the mouth is positioned right down the middle. So when you do speak, it's measured between the 2 different points of view that you've heard. And that is empathy. It is a tool of how we can work towards bridging between different people and a step closer to softening hearts and achieving belonging.
Rana, Omar, Shazad, and Devran, I know I personally have really enjoyed our discussion. So I really hope that all of our audience has as well. There is such power in one person, one thought, one action. And you have all reminded us of how that one person, one action, one thought can change all of our futures. Ladies and gentlemen, please thank our speakers.